There's no I can't do this in circus. There's I can't do this yet.
This is our little interview area we got set up. Nothing too fancy, but
Want to introduce yourself, what you do, and we'll go from there.
my name is Danielle Lobbit. I'm the owner of Cirque'letics School of Circus Arts. We're a circus arts company and we're an aerial dance company. We started out of a little fitness facility, renting some space from them. The business grew. Eventually we got a little space right next door to them. We grew out of that, and then I was able to get my own warehouse facility. It was a very tiny little warehouse, and we just grew out of that, and now we're going to be moving into a larger facility. And we're waiting for the renovations to be done on that during COVID.
Talk to me a little bit about the first experience you ever had with any, or the first time you had ever seen any type of circus or aerial act.
So from like wall dance specifically.
Nope, we'll go right from the start.
Hi, my name is Amy Chafe.
I'm Melissa.
It's Jamie Ruby.
My name is Erin, and I've been doing circus for about 3.5 years.
And I'm an electrical engineer.
A social circus instructor with Ignite Circus.
I teach pole fitness.
All right, years ago I was in my late teens, early 20s, and there was a company that came here and was doing basic circus arts classes out of the old Campia in Buckmaster Circle. So I signed up for their classes, did a few with them, and had to move to New Brunswick shortly after.
I went to see a show in St. John's probably 6 years ago now, and I saw a performance on the Silks. So it was a woman named Tanya Burka, who was amazing, and she was hanging about 40 feet off the ground, and she had a routine that was, that had a song that was choreographed for her routine, and it was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. So from there, I started to try some aerial yoga and just fell in love with it.
Back in like 2008, had a friend who really wanted to learn how to juggle and sent me a message and said, so, hey Jamie, I really want to learn how to juggle. And we looked up and found that there was a circus here in town called Wonderbolt Circus. Reached out to them, kind of learned from their guys how to juggle. I just kept sticking around there. I had a bit of a background in like a bit of technical theater work, so I was doing a lot of their lighting for a few years, and then just kept coming back to different stuff. Got really involved with the local like fire spinning community, and got really involved with the Lantern Festival here in town, and then got kind of involved with Cirque'letics.
I first started circus, I guess, with a couple of friends from work who wanted to just try circus, and I was a gymnast growing up, so I always wanted to be in a circus, so I decided to try, and I fell in love with it. I ended up coming over to Cirque'letics with the same person that I tried circus with at a different gym, and we became hoop partners. She's my Lyra wifey, so we train a lot together, and it's a lot of fun. And I also do chains, which is painful but fun, and I like to try almost anything I can with circus. Fire eating, wall dance, anything I can get my hands into, I want to do it.
A friend of mine brought me, and we did some doubles trapeze that night. He at least said I was pretty good at it. And from there, I just really enjoyed the physical challenge, but at the same time a chance to be a little bit more artistic.
I really took to this and really loved it. It was something physically active and creative all rolled into one. So I actually found a gymnasium in New Brunswick that would let me hang some aerial equipment, and I began to train myself. That was very difficult because I didn't have a coach at the time. So eventually I just trained, and I got to the point where I knew I couldn't do this on my own anymore. So I applied for an art school in the States, New England Center for Circus Arts. It was by audition only. So I had to do an audition video for this program. There were many other applicants, and they were only accepting 24. I actually ended up getting into this program, which I was absolutely ecstatic about. So I packed everything up in my car and I drove down to Vermont.
I was a gymnast for, I guess, the majority of my childhood and into high school. My body just couldn't handle anymore. I got really bad knees, a bad back. So when I discovered things like pole fitness and circus, I could do a lot of the similar moves, but it wasn't as hard on the body as the impact of gymnastics was.
Always loved anything that involved movement, and so I've tried all sorts of different things. I've done some types of martial arts, I've done a lot of ballroom dance, yoga, but nothing really caught me the same way that circus and aerials did. It was very much kind of the combination of unique types of movement, being able to move in ways that I never had before, the performative aspect of it, being able to kind of do things that no one else could do. When I started aerial, so I had been recovering from a major injury, so I'd actually been restricted in a lot of the things that I could do. I'd started to think that I wasn't going to be able to do things anymore because I'd been injured. And when I started aerial and started to actually build strength, I started to realize that it was possible to do not only things I'd done before, but things I'd never imagined that I could do.
So I applied for an art school in the States, New England Center for Circus Arts. It was by audition only. So I had to do an audition video for this program. There were many other applicants, and they were only accepting 24. I actually ended up getting into this program, which I was absolutely ecstatic about. So I packed everything up in my car and I drove down to Vermont. I was there and did their training program, graduated from that, and then came home. I completed my university courses here at Memorial. I'm a certified teacher as well. I got my Bachelor of Education degree. I was working with the same circus company that I'd started with years ago. They had started some programs up at Campy again, so I was with them and was teaching with them and working with them. They eventually ended up moving to Alberta, so they left the island, and then I got a contract in Asia. So I was working part-time teaching English and part-time working for a performance company in Hong Kong. When I was in Hong Kong, I worked with a company called Perform Crew, which an amazing group of people, and they did a lot of corporate gigs. So I would do some corporate gigs with them. Like, I remember one gig we were a presentation for a vodka company, and we would actually be up in the air giving samples. So we climb up in the silks and actually pour this really expensive vodka that was about $500 American a bottle into the mouth of the people underneath as a promotional. That was a really cool experience. Growing up in Newfoundland, the art scene was very blank. There wasn't a lot specifically for circus going on, and what was here didn't really have a teaching facility. So I came back to Newfoundland because I really wanted to bring circus back here, and I wanted to bring teaching and a school back here. So I came back, I was here for a few years, and eventually I was able to get some business loans, and that's how we started out. We started out of a little fitness facility, renting some space from them. The business grew. Eventually we got a little space right next door to them. We grew out of that, and then I was able to get my own warehouse facility. It was a very tiny little warehouse, and we just grew out of that, and now we're going to be moving into a larger facility, and we're waiting for the renovations to be done on that during COVID. Originally, when I got the education degree, I was looking at going into the regular school system and then doing an aerials program as an extracurricular in schools. But as I got in the school system, I realized there were a lot of opportunities there where kids didn't have access to these programs, and my passion was teaching this, not regular school curriculum. So I wanted to switch and do this full time, and there's a need for these arts programs, there's a need for these arts physical programs, especially in this province. Like, we're 10 years behind Nova Scotia. Halifax alone has 3 circus schools. So I really wanted to come here and bring this, and I just really didn't want to teach regular school curriculum. My heart and soul was in training circus arts.
I wouldn't call it escapism, I would call it a chance to express the things that I don't always get a chance to. So, I mean, when I was young, I would always dance around the house, or I'd always do my own little performances at home, but I never ever had the opportunity to create something to present to someone else. And that's something I never thought I'd do, and I never realized how much I would enjoy it. Creating a story and being able to tell that to people to watch you perform and to actually feel something. This is an amazing feeling.
Well, I have danced in the past, and sometimes I still go to dance classes. I, used to do gymnastics. I do teach pole fitness. But with circus, it's kind of a little bit of everything. Like, you can put in some gymnastics moves, and you can put in a bit of dance into your choreo, but it's also a lot of these moves and strength moves that are challenging to do and really work up to performing and putting it all together. So it's you can kind of add all the things that you've learned from different disciplines and put them all in one. And I guess that's why I like circus, and eventually when we get into doing big performances for wall dance, you can do the same thing. You can use the movements from dance and gymnastics and put it into a performance and do it on the side of a cliff or a building and put it all together.
I encourage anyone new starting out in circus is find a focus, find something to focus on, but always be developing. There's so many different props and skills, like being backstage, taking an hour or two to, I'm gonna learn devil sticks tonight. How do I do this? And it gives you this opportunity to always be growing, always be developing, and there's always something new to show. Like this whole wall dance project fits right into that. Here's something no one's ever seen. And that's what I love, is coming, like, these people come up with new creative concepts, clown acts and things like that. It's really amazing, just the amount of personal development that you can get out of circus.
Being on stage, you have the freedom to be somebody else within your act, which again attracts people. In more of the sport and competition, it's very serious and very, you're performing, you have to get everything right because you're being judged in competition. And with dance, you have a lot more freedom, which is awesome. But for circus, we mix sort of the extraordinary of fire breathing and flying through the air with the freedom to be silly, to be serious, and it's up to you, and you get to build your own act. And that does attract a lot of people because it takes the pressure of competition off. For me, I love being unique and being able to do things that a lot of other people can't. I love the performing aspect of it. And I love the freedom that I get to do something physical, not sit in an office all day, and do something I absolutely love and combine it together. I love teaching and I love performing as well. And for something like the wall dance, it's such a unique thing, and we get to create our own routines, we get to make up our own moves and use what's already out there and combine it. And I love working in that creative element, that it's physical, but we get to add all these awesome things and put them together. Like, we have some really cool ideas for acts in the future. We'd love to be able to go on some of the buildings downtown and to do a full open dance piece on them. Like, there's so much potential in something this new because it's never been here before, so we can do it our way and kind of introduce the province to it and just get really creative in how we do it.
Circus family is a very specific kind of family, and I'm very proud to be part of the St. John's Circus family. It's like something that doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. It is the camaraderie of being involved with other circus members, basically.
At Cirque'letics, we're definitely supportive. Everyone supports each other. There's no competition. I mean, between each other, like, we're just there to support everyone and whatever their ideas are. And I guess that's all part of it too, and that's part of the fun, because I love going to shows and watching other people perform and cheering them on. Or if someone's a bit nervous, you know, giving them a hug and saying, like, you're gonna be awesome, you're gonna do great, and just being there for that person and having those people be there for me too. I think that's all part of it. And with Cirque'letics, that's the community that you're in, and we all support each other no matter what.
With a lot of my own students, we have such a wide variety of backgrounds. We have dancers, we have gymnasts, we have roller derby, we have people that have never done anything before. And what I love about this, it's something that's open to everybody from every different background. And because you don't sort of have that competitive nature among students, students are competing against each other for trophies or awards. They're putting together acts together. So you'll have, sometimes people do duos and trios, and somebody will do an act and somebody else will do a different act, and they complement each other because that competition aspect isn't there. It's students trying to better themselves, not be better than each other. And it's really nice not to have that sort of mentality in the studio. Everybody is working towards bettering themselves, not being better than anybody else. And that's, again, what I love about circus. There's not that drive for competition. There's not that drive to be better than anybody else to the detriment of another person. It's, we're supporting each other to better ourselves, and everybody is really supportive of the other person's journey.
The circus world is really, really interesting, and I want to speak about something I've been talking to a few people about lately in terms of how supportive the circus community is. And in the friendliest way, one thing that I really miss is going on tours with like major circus. Like, I used to do a lot of tours across Newfoundland with Wonderbolt Circus. And one of my favorite things to do was we would video the show, and then that night we'd all get back to the hotel, everyone get changed, get yourself a drink or whatever, and we'd sit down and watch the show and tell everyone how they screwed up. It was a blast. There's a certain level of support that you will only find in the circus world, and in the joy that comes from that networking. there is a level of, there's no I can't do this in circus, there's I can't do this yet. And I really like that mentality. I really like that philosophy.
The circus community is fantastic. It's such a great mix of different people, different backgrounds, different opinions, different styles. Everyone is unique and kind of, I mean, circus is known for people being different or unique, so you don't never feel the need to kind of fit into a certain box. In fact, it's encouraged to be different because that's what makes circus interesting. So that kind of all-inclusive accepting of anybody, no matter what they want to do and no matter what they're like, is one of the things that makes circus so wonderful.
I feel like I wouldn't have maybe pushed myself outside a comfort zone into an area I hadn't for years of designing routines and trying to incorporate a bit more creativity into my physical activity. That was definitely a new one for me. So I guess thank you to Cirque'letics and Danielle for trying to inspire me to be a little bit more artistic in my life and to bring a bit of balance that way.
You have people that do this recreationally, only want to do it recreationally, and you have those who do want to perform and go to a little bit higher level. And all the students support each other. Like if you have somebody that wants to go into that show, you have all the rec students behind them supporting them and other performers supporting them and helping them get better. You people that just want to do rec, we still celebrate their accomplishments, even if they're not going to be doing this on a performing level, because to them it's an accomplishment. And for some people, some tricks are easy, for others they may struggle. And we still celebrate the struggle, and we still celebrate when they get a trick, even if it's not the hardest trick, we still celebrate because it's a big deal to them. And other students recognize that everybody is in their own journey, and we still celebrate the person. Even if, you know, they're not doing the craziest stuff, getting something that's difficult to them is an accomplishment, and all the other students recognize that.
Well, we want everyone to do circus. If you reach out to anyone in circus, we will talk to you for days about what you can do in circus and why you should do it, and we just want everyone to experience it because we love it and it's so much fun for us and it's so great. So anyone you reach out to in circus, they're gonna welcome you in, and they're gonna want you to be there and experience it for yourself because it's so awesome.
I want to say reach out. Like, the community is very accepting to new people. And that's something that I love, is there's always excitement and thrill to welcome new people into that community. There's all sorts of different ways to reach out. Locally here in St. John's, we have the St. John's Juggling Club. They're great people. We have Cirque'letics. We have there's also other companies who are doing some great work. Just find what you're interested in, and you really, if you're interested in aerials and you reach out to someone in the St. John's Juggling Club, if none of them do a whole lot of aerials, they are going to point you towards Cirque'letics. If you go to Danielle and like your interest is in like more ground arts, either she will find someone to teach you there, or reach out and point you in the direction of someone who can. There's a whole lot of desire to welcome new people into the circus community, and that's one thing I love about it.
Circus is in itself a creative outlet, and I think people get really bogged down in life and they're afraid to try something new. And my advice would, don't be afraid. Try something new, go out on that limb, because you're not going to have these amazing experiences unless you take that first step. And this is something that it's a very easy entry. People can come and do this and learn, and it's an awesome experience, and you meet some amazing people, and it's an accomplishment for you. You get to try something you don't think you would ever be able to do, and you can. And that's why I love this art, because it is open to everybody, and I watch people accomplish things that they never thought they'd be able to do. And to me, that's really rewarding as a coach, but it's rewarding for the people, because they have something than just going to work and getting up. They can try something new and different, and it opens up a lot of creative possibility for them.
Dangerous.
There's definitely a danger level in circus, and it's definitely part of the appeal, because training to do something that seems scary is part of the fun, and it's one of the things of kind of overcoming your fears and doing something that you see someone do the first time, you're like, there's no way I can do that. It's never gonna happen. And then, you know, a few months later, well, maybe. And the next thing you know, and there's something so satisfying about achieving something like that.
I think everything we do here, I know everything we do at Cirque'letics is always very safe. We always have mats. We always, if we're doing anything that seems a little bit more dangerous, we use lines when we're learning. You know, there's always going to be a bit of that fear factor with anything you do like this, and I don't think you'll ever, I mean, I guess some people don't have the fear, but, you know, sometimes there's going to be something you're going to do and you're going to feel a bit afraid, but when we train in the gym, everything's always very safe, and, you know, I don't think anything here is that, you know, you're not risking your body, you're not putting yourself in a lot of danger, and I don't think that's really until you really get up into high levels of circus that you're doing things that are maybe a little bit more dangerous. But again, through training and using mats when you're learning things, you're keeping yourself safe, and you're always vigilant. And I guess that's the thing, is never be complacent with anything that may be a bit dangerous.
So, good thing about circus, and I say this, circus is really for anybody. So for the aerial, we start very low to the ground, that they can step into the equipment and just do basic skills. And it's really nice that we can offer it for a multitude of different body types. For wall dance, the same thing. As long as you feel comfortable sitting with your weight in a harness, it's really open to anybody. With circus, we can do the lead-in. For people that have certain disadvantages, we can do one-on-ones. We can do modifications for them. Circus is very open, and there's very few people that I've encountered that can't do something. We were out doing wall dance the other day, and we had a 60-year-old man up. No problem, he was up swinging around, and we were able to modify and get him in the harness for wall dance. And it was awesome to see. And there's very few restrictions into this because, again, circus is such a large umbrella. There's something for everybody.
It's been said that people often associate circus, aerials, and wall dance by relation to be something a bit dangerous. And they would say that maybe it's not worth risking their body for. I would have to say that I think it's always important to appreciate risks in any activity you do, for example, driving your car to the grocery store, but also to try and mitigate those risks. And that's something that I find Danielle really does quite well. I've never felt unsafe in the studio. We have a ton of crash pads. We're taught how to fall. We're able to get spots from her at any time that we ask. And learning more complicated, more dangerous tricks in lines first allows an element of safety there as well. So I find that with, you know, proper listening to your coach and starting with those safety measures in place, I have personally never really gotten injured.
I think circus done the right way, when you have a proper coach and when you're training, is not inherently dangerous. I mean, there's obviously a risk to it, but if it's done properly, it's not something that's more dangerous than most other sports.
Mm-hmm.
But you definitely get that bit of adrenaline and that rush and that excitement, and that definitely adds a large component to it.
I wouldn't say there's a big element of fear, but it does make you very aware of your own body. A lot of the things that I do with circus, like a lot of the fire eating, fire breathing, some of the clown stuff, some more extreme clown stuff, like doing bed of nails, tricks and stuff like that, is a lot of like getting over fear. But what I would say is the actual accessibility of aerials and acrobatics has always been one of my biggest frustrations with circus. I love aerials. I think the feeling of certain aerial apparatuses is comparable to nothing else in the world. But there's a certain level of accessibility that you find in like juggling and things like that I don't find as naturally come to aerials and acrobatics, just because of like a lot of the like body strength and like body control that you require. The wall dance, it seems to me like the main limitation is the ability to putt on a rock climbing harness, which I think doesn't limit many people. Like when we went down there, we went down with like a bit of an older gentleman who runs his own circus company up in Nova Scotia now. He's formerly a clown with like Cirque du Soleil and stuff like that, and obviously not anyone's first thought when it comes to acrobat, but was able to get up on the wall and get a lot of enjoyment and fulfillment out of it. And I think this really opens up the more acrobatic end of circus to people who recently, there was literally a firewall in between, like when it came to how far they could progress with circus and how much circus was for them. And that seems to really, really take that down, and I'm really happy to see that.
So where I learned is I took a group of kids to the Irish Aerial Dance Festival held in Letterkenny, Ireland every year.
I went to Ireland a year ago now.
So a few years ago, when Cirque'letics was doing a bit of planning to go over to the Aerial Arts Festival over in Ireland, Danielle was kind of telling me about the whole wall dance concept, and how excited they were to get over there. And like I seen some videos of it, and I thought it was like a really neat concept. Particularly like with circus, like we're often playing with like different levels and things like that, right? Like working very much on this but 2D plane of like this vertical plane and this kind of horizontal flat plane. Because I do a lot of ground arts and stuff like that, like juggling, fire eating, just clown work and stuff like that. And obviously there's a lot that you can do with like crowd interaction, getting up close and using the full stage. But wall dancing was the first one to bring in, the first thing that I've really seen that brought in this like third dimension, right? Like a lot of circus is either up, down, or this close to the audience, but we're not dealing with like this plane a whole lot, and this adds in very literally a whole other dimension. So I thought it was really interesting. I've been really excited to try it. And then a few weeks ago I actually got to go down to Flat Rock with Danielle and another colleague and just try it out for a little bit.
So my first time wall dancing was this summer, out on the cliffs in Flat Rock. And as someone who's been a rock climber before, it was familiar turf, but it was a new way to experience it. For me, it was definitely an expression of freedom and something amazingly different and cool to try, and a great way to get out of the house, honestly.
So I only really had my first introduction to wall dance at the beginning of this summer. Danielle had told me about it when they went on their trip and what they had done, and I guess I didn't really understand kind of what it was. And then Danielle had gone out with a group and did a photo shoot with Scott Humber, and I saw a picture of her doing a flip on the cliff, and I fell in love, and I said, I have to do it, have to. So the first time I got out, I didn't really get a whole lot of time on the wall. It was only a quick trip, and it was a lot harder than I expected, especially just climbing up and getting used to the equipment and the gear. But I tried to go out as much as I could this summer, and it was really awesome, and I loved it.
They offer the training course for wall dance. They offer a bunch of different programs there, but myself and several students were able to take the wall dance course. And it was very similar. I've done rock climbing before, so a lot of the equipment was all the same. So we had a lot of the equipment anyway, ropes and harnesses, we had all of that. So it was a very easy transition for us to bring the program here. So we did the learning with them, and then we were able to come home, and because of COVID, our studio got shut down, but we were able to go out on some of the cliffs. Good thing about Newfoundland is there's a lot of rock climbers here, and a lot of rock climbers have the cliffs bolted. So we were just piggybacking on all the equipment and the bolts that the rock climbers already had in place. So all the equipment, all the structural was in place for us to just hook everything up and to go off that. Rock climbers use the cliffs in flat rock, and I also knew that it was bolted. So a good friend of mine who's also a rigger and a rock climber showed me where the bolts were and showed us how to connect the lines as rock climbers would. And then we went outside and we just took a group down for the first time with her, and we just started using the rock climbing points for wall dancing, and it worked out great. And we had this just fantastical view of the outside, and it was something we could do to keep the social distancing.
There you go.
There was definitely some fear, for sure, because I was trying something new, and what surprised me the most, though, I think, was that I expected to be more scared than I actually was. So when I got up on the wall and we started to move, it was just, I guess the joy overcame the fear, because you're having so much fun, and once you start to realize this whole new level of movement, you kind of forget that you thought you were going to be afraid, right? I thought that going up on the big cliffs outdoors was going to be even scarier than the walls. I was terrified before we went out, but it was kind of amazing. It took all of 5 seconds, and I realized that this was the best thing I had ever done, and there was zero hesitation from that point on. And now it's, I want to take every opportunity I can to get out there.
So when Danielle said that she wanted students to go out this year and wall dance, I was really excited, and it was great to have something to do while we're waiting for the rebuild on the studio, and of course where everything was kind of shut down, but we could safely go out and do wall dancing outside. It was really awesome to be able to go out and experience that on the side of, we mostly went down to Flat Rock, and just to see the scenery and have the ocean waves splashing underneath us, and kind of breaking there at the at the cliff was really amazing.
It's really awesome for us to be able to do this outside. Not only does it create absolutely fantastic photos and videos, but it allows us to use sort of the natural beauty of Newfoundland. And we have these gorgeous cliffs all around our province, and to be able to get outside and to do circus in these amazing locations is just a dream come true.
But of course it had its challenges, because there was a few times we went out and the waves were too high and we couldn't get down to the location that we wanted to go to. So we had to go either on a smaller wall or somewhere that was a little bit safer because of the high tide. But when we did get to go down, it was really beautiful. And a couple of days we went down and it was really warm. The sun was shining, the waves were crashing, and it was really just an awesome experience. And we did that for a lot of the summer, and it was great to have something to look forward to in regards to activities and aerials where we don't have a gym right now. It was really exciting.
You really are right on the ocean. You know, there's times we've had to turn around and go back because the winds have been too high and the waves have been too big and are actually hitting the walls that we're supposed to be climbing, or would be washing away the our gear and equipment on the ground. So it's important to kind of be safe and to know what you're doing and when you can go out. There's nothing quite like that feeling of being up on the wall and just hanging upside down, looking out over the ocean.
Weather is a big factor for us. If it's raining, it's just miserable. We've tried in the rain and it's just been miserable, but that's Newfoundland, and unfortunately the weather is very unpredictable. Also, some of the cliffs we use, there's one cliff in particular that we have to wait till the tide is out, and if the tide is in, we actually get quite wet. We've almost gotten covered over a few times trying to outrun the tide to get back on top of the cliff.
Do I think I continue to wall dance outside?
We're in the middle of building an indoor wall in our new studio, but I love the fact that we have the opportunity to use the cliffs outside, and in the summer, it's a great summer activity I can do with students that have been cooped up indoors all year. And it's very easy and very safe to use these points in just beautiful areas in Newfoundland, and we're constantly scoping out different cliffs we can use, what's bolted, what's available to us, what's easy to access with students. It's just great that we have the opportunity to be able to do indoor and outdoor in this province, and I know several other companies that don't have that opportunity. They're either in cities or in places that don't have access to these massive cliffs. And for us, that's a great advantage, being able to bring this form of dancing here to Newfoundland. It's transferable inside and outside.
I think I'll always want to do wall dance outside as well, on the side of the cliffs down in Flat Rock, or wherever we can find. Maybe we can, find some locations across Newfoundland and, take some road trips and do it. I don't know. It doesn't compare to, being in the gym. Doesn't compare to just being on the side of some Newfoundland scenery and really, really experiencing that. It's a lot of fun.
Do I think I continue to wall dance outside? Definitely. Like I mentioned before, indoors is the place to learn, but there's nothing like the feeling of being outdoors on a cliff. It's kind of surreal, it's something that doesn't really feel like you should be able to do, right? Like to jump around and on cliffs on the side of the ocean. It's just, it's just surreal.
So I guess one of the main questions is, what does it mean to you to have this in your life? You said it's something that you've been doing now for 12 years. It's something that obviously you found passion and friends and connections in, and a family, as you described it, a circus family. Overall, like, what does it mean to you? I mean, how different would your life be if you hadn't looked up how to juggle 12 years ago? What does it mean to have this outlet and this family in your life?
I guess for me, having circus in my life it's just really been able to allow me to express myself, keep up with performing and being out there, and really just showing that side of myself, as well as like having my little girl comes in, my daughter, she loves it too, so I can share that with her and show her that you can do the things that you want to do. It doesn't matter what kind of job you have, or what anybody says. You can do the things that you want to do, and you can express yourself, no matter if you were 5 like her or older like me. You can always do the things you love, no matter what.
I feel like I wouldn't have maybe pushed myself outside a comfort zone into an area I hadn't for years, of designing routines and trying to incorporate a bit more creativity into my physical activity. That was definitely a new one for me. So I guess thank you to Cirque'letics and Danielle for trying to inspire me to be a little bit more artistic in my life, and to bring a bit of balance that way.
Yeah, it was a passion I didn't realize I had, and now looking back, it's hard to believe that there was ever a time I didn't have some sort of creative outlet. Now it's hard, now it's the opposite. It's hard to imagine what I would do without it. I know COVID has been especially hard on a lot of circus artists because you can't perform, right? We've had some great groups here in the province who have taken initiative to start outdoor performances, because once you find that love of performing, you don't want to stop, right? And when you see that the enjoyment that it can bring to people to watch it, shouldn't stop.
I love being unique and being able to do things that a lot of other people can't. I love the performing aspect of it. And I love the freedom that I get to do something physical, not sit in an office all day, and do something I absolutely love and combine it together. I love teaching and I love performing as well. And for something like the wall dance, it's such a unique thing, and we get to create our own routines, we get to make up our own moves and use what's already out there and combine it. And I love working in that creative element, that it's physical, but we get to add all these awesome things and put them together.
My relationship with circus has lasted longer than any interpersonal relationship I've ever had. It is fundamentally at my core, and not something that I'm willing to give up for anything at this point. It is the most important thing in my life, and I do not know how to answer the question where I would be if I didn't choose to learn how to juggle 12 years ago now. No, more than that. Wow. It's been a while of doing circus. I think I might have said 2008 earlier. We're looking back to 2005 actually. We're dealing with 15 years of circus, and that's been pretty amazing. I've met amazing people through it. I've been afforded incredible opportunities. The self-improvement, self-betterment, and self-reflection that is required with circus is probably one of the better mental health systems you can have in your life. The physical development that you get out of it just from doing a physical art that is physically stimulating as well as mentally stimulating. There is nothing I would sooner recommend to someone who is just looking to improve their life in any way they can get involved with the circus world. And honestly, that's about it. Is just I don't know how to answer that question. I don't know where I'd be without circus, but I know it wouldn't be as enjoyable as the place I currently find myself.